Hey Heartlanders! In today's video, I talked to the one and only, our most favorite actress in the world, Amber Marshall. She talked about all of her indoor animals, and we even got to see a ton of them. And you're sure to enjoy this video. Watch this. Yes, can I please meet your pets? We love to.
Yeah, of course. They obviously like hogging the spotlight, as you can see. So this is Mauser, and Mauser has been on Heartland before many years ago. He played the little kitten that was inside Amy's jacket. I think it was season 4. And so he's obviously grown and aged. He's 12 years old now. So he's a staple of the farm and just kind of takes it easy now. This is Phoenix. Anyone who follows me on Instagram probably is familiar with Phoenix. He's also kind of our farm mascot. And he I don't know, he's one of the few house roosters I know. He comes in quite often and hangs out. Remi, old girl, also celebrating her 12th birthday coming up here. So she's kind of what you see is what you get. She sleeps a lot. On the contrary, Rain, who cannot sit still, Rain, lie down, who I tried to place in the background on a table because I thought, well, maybe you can see her because she's constantly moving. But when she's in the house, she kind of settles down. It's more so when she knows she has a job to do. If she sees animals outside, like horses, the cows, she's constantly like, well, I have to make sure these guys are all in their proper position. And so she never sits still unless she's in the house, and then I can usually get her to kind of just chill a little bit. I also have my other cat Turner in here, but she's very shy, so she doesn't usually like to, she's not a cuddle cat, but I can see her right now. She's sitting over in the sunshine, so she might make an appearance as well. But I think these are all the house pets, so to speak. And all our animals are usually outside because we're usually outside, and that's just where they like to be. They want to be where all the action is. But the dogs and cats usually come in at night. Now that we have a nice completed barn, the cats usually sleep there because that's where they have their food and their little bed set up and that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of an open door policy in some ways, and keeps us on our toes, that's for sure.
What's your total number of pets you have altogether, like indoor and outdoor?
I don't know. I honestly have no idea right now. I haven't done a count in a while, but there's definitely enough to keep us busy. I just brought home, I guess the newest would be, we had a calf born on the farm, and then I brought home 2 orphan calves because my Jersey cows, they produce a ton of milk. They are a milk cow. So unless you're milking them twice a day, every day, then they have tons of milk. So I usually bring home orphan calves, and then that way the orphans get a mom and my Jerseys get another baby to look after, and I don't have to milk them twice a day, every day. So I brought home 2 calves, and there was a little bull calf and a little heifer calf, so a little boy and a little girl. And I paired the little boy with Belle because she had a little bull calf. So I thought the 2 of them can be rambunctious and play and butt heads and do all the things that rowdy boys like to do. And then we'll see what Ella has, because she hasn't calved yet. I went out again just half an hour ago, and she's not looking super close. So maybe she's just holding out for better weather because it's still about -5 here, and it's like kind of slushy, snowing, not nice weather. So I think the best thing for these animals is just to have that constant regulation of temperature themselves. And the only way that they can learn how to do that is by you just saying, they'll be fine. They're okay. And that's the way I've kind of always done things. As I look at all the native animals around us, like the deer and the elk, that are very similar to cattle. You know, they've got the same coat type, they're hoofed animals, they eat the same vegetation. They're very similar in a lot of ways, and they do really well in this area. So, and another thing you look at is the breeds of the animals. So for example, Jerseys are a hot weather cow. So Jerseys don't do as well in cold weather climates than say a Highland, which is very, very fuzzy and they're built for colder weather. So both these calves that I have, Belle's calf and then Ella's that's expected are crossed with a Highland. So their dad was a Highland, their mom was a Jersey. So that means they're going to be a little bit tougher than if it was just a Jersey calf. So yeah, it really is up to each individual animal and watching their needs and what they require. And older animals need a little bit more protection from the cold and the heat. It's just like with people. You just have to watch. Each individual person is going to have their own needs. Same with animals. So it's not about one blanket policy for everything. I just watch, and if a little calf is shaking out in the snow, then I'm going to bring them in and warm them up. Right. But if they're running around and they're nursing and they're happy, then no, they're perfect right where they are.
Because I have baby chicks right now, and like people say keep them at 85 degrees, and some people say it's okay to just have a heating blanket on top. And I've always just kept the heating blanket.
And the thing I always say is let them choose. Because that's the thing too, is animals are a lot smarter than we give them credit for, and even baby chicks. Yes. So whenever I set up a brooder, I will set up a hot area and a cold area. And I usually, not necessarily cold, but not heated. Yeah. So that they can choose. If they're cold, they will go to the warm area. If they're hot, they'll go to the cold area. And you can kind of see, and that's just the thing too, is just watching and observing. And if they're laying with their limbs all spread out, they're hot. If they're all huddled together, they're cold. And I always just say, let them choose. All my animals have shelters with tons of straw bedded in it, and you'll look out and it's snow's blowing sideways and they're just over standing in the trees one another, and they're happy, right? So it's like, I don't want to force them, like, you get in the shelter, it's cold out, zip up your jacket. It's like, no, like let them choose what they want to do. And I think that's how I've kind of always worked things on this farm.
It's so much like your character, Amy, because that's part of what she does. She like really sits and observes the animals. Mm-hmm. And that's what's different about her than when you show the other horse trainers on Heartland. They're just like, okay, we have these rules, we're rigid, and we just do this.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is important. And that's, to me, that's something that I've just always done, because I'm very much an observer, and I've had animals all my life. And one of my favorite pastimes from when I can remember, like little tiny kid, has always just been to sit and watch and observe, and you learn so much. And I think so many people just feel like they know something before they've actually observed, or they hear something, or they read something, or they're like, well, I heard that you can't have Jersey cows in the snow. It's like, have you ever been out with one in the snow? Like, have any Jersey cows? You know what I mean? So that's where I'm always at. And I try never to give advice to people that I haven't personally experienced that situation. And every situation is different too. Now, Rain, I think she ran away when the rooster jumped up there. She is a very flighty dog by nature. And so I got her when she was 2 years old. She had been purchased by a big farm as like basically their working dog, right? But she's so flighty, and she is a purebred border collie. So she has that working instinct in her. She just wants to work. She doesn't want to lay down. She wants to just be like, okay, it's go time. However, the reason she didn't work out on their ranch was because she's so, I'm going to call her scatterbrained in a very loving way, but she doesn't quite know. She has all these instincts and all these impulses, but she doesn't quite know what to do with them. And when she gets in a pressured up situation, she freaks out and then just leaves. So, if she gets yelled at, it's like, no, you can't get out of there. You can't do that, or you're going the wrong way. And she just kind of shuts down. And so I've been really trying to work with her just to calm her demeanor, because she's always on edge. She's always like, we got to work. What are you doing? You can't sit there. We got to go. There's things to do. And that's also one of the reasons I love her, because she's just got maybe a comparable personality to me in some ways, because it's like, come on, let's just go get it done. But for her, I have to really watch her around the smaller animals, especially like the birds, because she does have those impulses, and she doesn't really know how to control herself. And she knows it's bad. She knows, no, you can't eat the rooster. But at the same time, she's like, I don't know what to do.
Do you have any donkeys? One thing I read on like some of the Facebook groups that are about chickens, there's ones about donkeys, and said you can't put donkeys in with four-legged animals like dogs, but you can with like chickens to sort of be their guard animal. But if you put a dog in there, they'll like try to kill it if they haven't been raised with them, or you don't know that.
And that's key. As long as they've been raised together, they're fine. And as long as they know. So just an example on that, Betty, my alpaca, Any strange dog or really animal that comes onto our property, she will chase and
Yeah,
she will get them out of there. But our dogs can be laying right beside her. Rain can be running circles like she usually does right around Betty. Betty doesn't even look. She doesn't care because they know who's supposed to be there and who's not. And that's the same with donkeys. So if donkeys know, and even if they're not raised with them, even if you just get them as adults and you say, this is our family and you be nice to our family, they're usually pretty good. There are exceptions. Some donkeys just have a hate on for dogs. But some are just like, oh yeah, you're part of my family. That's fine. But I'll keep an eye out for animals that aren't supposed to be here or predators or things like that. So I've never had a donkey myself. So again, I can't speak from experience, but our neighbors have one. I hear it every morning about 4 o'clock it starts up. And most of, I've been around quite a few of them. A lot of my friends have donkeys. And one of the reasons I have never wanted a donkey is because of the whole 4 o'clock. I have Phoenix for that, and he already drives me nuts early in the morning. But the donkeys, it's just this, it's a sound you cannot get out of your head. And once you hear it, you're just like.
Well, that's part of it, because you have the cows and then you have the alpaca. Now, the alpaca, is she like friends with any other particular animals?
The cows. She is obsessed with the cows. So I'll let you in on a secret that I haven't told anyone yet, but now people are going to know. So I thought a while ago, I was like, you know what? I think Betty needs a friend. She needs an alpaca, someone to hang out with her, because she's getting older and alpacas should be not alone. They need more of their own species and everything that I've ever read and seen. So I went and adopted 2 alpacas. And Betty hated them, absolutely hated them. And I thought, okay, it's just the whole thing. She's got to get used to them, right? Like 2 female alpacas, I thought, oh, they're not threatening to her. They were older so that she wasn't, I was like, oh, I just want someone that's not going to bug you. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep you guys together for a while and you can work it out. So I put them in their own pen, separate from the cows up by the house. And the 2 would lay in the far corner and Betty would lay on the exact opposite corner, staring out at her cows, making her little coo sound. So those of you who've never been around alpacas, they make this little noise like, like that's exactly what it sounds like. And she would just sit there staring at her cows, cooing to them this happened for a while. And I thought, you know what? She just needs time. So she never ever bonded with them and she never liked them. When I went and fed, I thought, okay, I'll feed you guys all together. I'd put their grain out. They'd come over and she would just turn and run them off. And then she would eat all the food. And then I would try feeding them first and keeping her like on a halter. And she would just pin her ears and charge at, but she just hated them. And I tried to get her a friend of her own kind and she just wasn't into it. And you can't force that, right? That's another thing too. So it's one of those things where you try to do what's best for your animals, but in the end, they're going to tell you what they want. And Betty couldn't have been happier when I let her back out with the cows. She like loped over to them. She was cooing to them. She laid right beside them. And then the other part of it was I tried to let all the alpacas out, but the new ones were afraid of the cows and they wouldn't go anywhere near the cows. And so then they wouldn't go and eat and they would just. So there's trial and error on a farm too, right? It's not, everything doesn't always work. And you try things and you try to do, at least I do, I try to do what's best for my animals and what I think is going to make them happy. But then that's not always the case. I know.
Like you said, you have to sit and observe and that takes time to know. You can't tell in a day or an hour.
And that's, you could read whatever you want on the internet. And I've read lots of where alpacas can't be alone, right? Everybody tells you that. And it's not that Betty's ever been alone. She's always been in her herd of cows and she loves her cows. I think she thinks she's a cow. So she couldn't have been happier when the new babies were born because it feels like that's what she loves is when she can just go and babysit the calves and she lays with them and she grooms them and she's such a good babysitter and that's where she's happy. So, we all think, okay, this is going to work, or we're going to do this to make our animals or our kids or whatever happy. You never know, right? You never know what the outcome is going to be. And that's why it's so important to observe. You need to not just say, this is what this book says, so I'm going to do it. Then once you do bring them home, you have to use a whole lot of common sense and observation. Yeah. And, not every one animal is going to be the same. And you need to just figure out what works.
For sure. That's even with rescue dogs down here in the States. A lot of times they want you to get them with sight unseen. And if you have other dogs or cats or whatever, you just don't know what you're bringing in right away.
Yeah, no, and stretching his wings over there. And I always believe that you need to know that animal is going to fit in with your life. Otherwise, neither of you are going to be happy. And that was the thing with the alpacas. I was like, oh, I'm doing this for Betty. And then when I realized Betty was not happy about it, I'm like, okay, well then I can't just be doing this for myself, because the whole reason was, you know what I mean? So you have to, and that's the same with adopting animals. And it's kind of one of those touchy subjects that I don't like to always talk about, but rehoming animals when it needs to be done too. And I believe that you should always do what's best for the animal. And sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes you see an animal and you're like, you know what? They're not fitting in here. They don't seem happy. And if there's a place where they could be happier, then I'm all for it. Now, I'm not for people just saying, oh, I got to move. I'm my dog, right? That's so if your animal and you can see that it's not happy in your situation, then I believe you can find a better place for it.
Yeah, because that's what Heartland's all about. A lot of times you would say to some of the other newer people like Georgie, you would say like, this is just something that we do because it's the best thing for the horse, for example.
Yeah, and same with me, people are always like, oh, why don't you just keep them all? And it's like, but if I kept them all, they wouldn't be happy here, because then I wouldn't have enough time to take care of them all in the way that they deserve to be taken care of. So it's like, you have to kind of set your parameters. And yeah, it's hard, you do fall in love with some, and if I'm like head over heels for something, I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to make sure it has the best life it can with me. But if it's not the right match, and the perfect example for that is my dog Breezy. And I had Breezy for 2 years and we never clicked. She was such a needy dog. And for me, I'm always out and about and I'm always doing things. And I love dogs that'll come out and hang out with me, but they're not like, you're not paying attention to me. Don't touch that horse. Didn't want to spread her love around. She's like, no, you give me your love and you give it all to me. And she's a great dog. Breezy is a wonderful dog. She fit in so well. She got along with every animal. She would wrestle with my ducks. She was great here. I had no issues with her here, but she wasn't happy. And when my girlfriend started going for walks and hikes up in the mountains by herself, she's like, this feels weird. I want to take a dog. Like, she's like, I just want a hiking partner. I want someone to be with me and to come drive in the truck with me. And this was right when COVID hit and there wasn't a whole lot going on. And I was like, why don't you take Breezy? Because honestly, she's kind of driving me nuts right now, because she just wants me to give her all this attention, and I'm milking cows and I'm feeding horses and I'm doing this. And she's just like, stop what you're doing and pay attention to me. And so Kira started taking Breezy with her on hikes. And then I would see just this energy change. And it was so funny to see, because I had no intention of giving Breezy up. I was just like, no, she needs to go do something and she needs a person that's going to pay attention to her. And why don't you take her with you? And so then over the weeks, I started to see this shift in Breezy, and Kira would pull back into my laneway and open the truck door, and Breezy would kind of like look at Kira like, what, I have to get out? Like, can I just stay here?
Wow.
And so then Kira started taking her overnight, and she would sleep in Kira's bed, and like, she was the only child, so she was just so excited. And then just over the months, I just started to see this bond forming, and I was like, that makes way more sense. I'm like, you two are way more suited for each other, because they both just needed that one-on-one companion. And I had so much going on, and I was working. And at the time on set, they didn't want dogs there because the COVID restrictions had just come into place. It's just like, you know what, this makes a lot more sense. And so then flash forward, and I adopted Rain, and Rain is very much my style of dog, I guess you could say, because she's not needy with me. She needs lots of exercise and that kind of thing, but she's not always like, you're not paying attention to me. She's more of the like, okay, what can we do? Like, can we go herd cows now? Can we go herd horses? Can we go do this? And she's just happy doing whatever I'm doing. She doesn't need me always like, good dog type thing. So yeah, it's just always looking at, for me anyway, always looking at your animals and realizing what is best suited for them and does it work as a whole. And that's, I think, the key to a successful farm is having everybody just coexist in a way that they're all happy and content.
Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe for more great videos all about Heartland. Keep Heartland strong. Bye for now.